Labour has been in power for just 6 months, and yet their grip on the United Kingdom is already slipping through their fingers. The British public's patience has worn thin, and the cracks in the party's governance are glaringly obvious. As we approach 2025, the mounting dissatisfaction with Labour has reached a tipping point. A bombshell report has revealed the scale of the disaster awaiting them if an election were to take place today. The numbers are unequivocal. Labour is on course for an electoral hammering that could shake the political landscape to its core. A comprehensive mega-poll conducted by the think tank More in Common has laid bare the depth of Labour's collapse. The findings are staggering. The party would lose nearly 200 seats, a catastrophe of historic proportions for a government that swept into power on a wave of optimism less than a year ago. The devastating fallout doesn't stop there. 7 senior cabinet ministers, including key figures like Health Secretary Wes Streeting, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, and Defence Secretary John Healey, would be swept out of office. This would leave the party crippled, reduced to just 228 seats in Parliament, a humiliating retreat from the commanding majority they once held. The shockwaves of this poll are seismic, and it's not just about the numbers. The loss of heavyweights like Bridget Phillipson, the Energy Secretary, and Jonathan Reynolds, the Business Secretary, signals a broader collapse of confidence in Labour's leadership and their ability to govern effectively. This isn't just bad optics. It's a clear indication that the British public feels betrayed by unfulfilled promises and a party that seems increasingly out of touch with the realities on the ground. The whispers of discontent have grown into a roar, and it's one Labour can no longer ignore. Meanwhile, the political landscape is shifting rapidly. Reform UK, a party that was once dismissed as a fringe player, is now emerging as a serious contender. Reform's growing popularity is undeniable, and the numbers don't lie. According to the poll, they would secure 72 seats if an election were held today, a remarkable surge that highlights the public's hunger for a credible alternative. Reform is capitalizing on Labour's failures and the Conservatives' inability to regain traction, positioning themselves as the voice of change in a country desperate for leadership. Their rise is a wake-up call for the establishment, signaling that the days of two-party dominance are under threat. The Conservatives, battered and bruised after their own electoral setbacks, are finding new life in Labour's decline. With 222 seats projected in the poll, they are poised for an unexpected resurgence, fueled by voter frustration with Labour's inability to deliver on the promises that brought them to power. The irony is bitter. Labour, who came to power promising a fresh start, is now driving voters back into the arms of their longtime rivals. The Conservatives may not be the solution everyone wants, but for many, they appear a safer bet than the chaos Labour has unleashed. The implications of these findings are profound. For Labour, this is more than just a wake-up call, it's an existential crisis. The clock is ticking, and unless they can reverse this downward spiral, their time in government could be cut short. The British public has issued a clear verdict. They are tired of excuses, tired of empty rhetoric, and tired of watching their government flounder while the country faces mounting challenges. From the cost of living crisis to healthcare backlogs and energy insecurity, Labour has failed to deliver tangible solutions. The public isn't interested in finger-pointing or political theatre. They want results. What makes this situation even more damning for Labour is the speed of their decline. 6 months is all it has taken for the party to squander the goodwill they entered office with. This isn't just a stumble, it's a full-blown collapse, and the consequences will be felt for years to come. The party's leadership must take responsibility for this mess. The public isn't buying their excuses, and the blame game within the party will only deepen the fractures that are already visible. If Labour doesn't course-correct immediately, they risk becoming a cautionary tale of political hubris and incompetence. The rise of Reform UK is a direct indictment of the failures of both Labour and the Conservatives. For too long, the British electorate has been forced to choose between two parties that have consistently let them down. Reform's growing support is a signal that voters are no longer willing to settle for the status quo. The party's message of change is resonating with a public that feels ignored and abandoned by the mainstream parties. Whether Reform can translate this momentum into lasting success remains to be seen, but their rise is a clear warning to Labour and the Conservatives alike: adapt or perish. The next election is shaping up to be one of the most consequential in recent history. Labour's decline, the Conservatives' potential resurgence, and Reform's meteoric rise are setting the stage for a political earthquake. The British people have had enough of broken promises and ineffective leadership. They are demanding accountability, and they are ready to punish those who fail to deliver. Labour may have thought they had time to turn things around, but the message from this poll is clear: their time is running out. This isn't just a bad poll for Labour, it's a reckoning. If the party doesn't take immediate action to address the grievances of the British people, their time in power will be remembered as a fleeting experiment that ended in failure. The public's patience is exhausted, and the political winds are shifting. The question isn't whether Labour will lose power, it's how soon. The countdown to their collapse has begun, and unless they can pull off a miracle, the next election will be their ultimate downfall. The voters are watching, and they are ready to make their voices heard.